As we come to the close on the season, I just want to go over the three heavy weapons that have been dominating this meta. There's the SA-12, the BFR, and the Shack. They all have their own strength and weaknesses when it comes to maps and playstyles and team comps, so today I'm going to be going over that so you can figure out what weapon you want to be running. We're going to be starting off with the Shack, as you don't really see a lot of pros using it, but it is everywhere in ranked. It's such a good all-rounder and gives you more consistency than the other guns. It also requires way less team play and coordination and less map knowledge. You don't need to be swapping for long-range maps or close-range maps or what your team has. It's just a good weapon to have always. With that being said, if your team does lack the range or you're going into final round, it is a good idea to swap off from the Shack to the BFR. If you have range covered, you can just stay on it. So when it comes to the maps category for this weapon, I'm just going to say all, but it is completely viable for all maps, even though there are better options. But if done correctly, it shouldn't really matter, and the Shack should work. Onto the strength and weaknesses of the Shack. Like I said, the Shack is an all-rounder, but it definitely has burst potential to mid to close range, and you can 1v3 with it. On the weaknesses, the small mag size only being 20, I find myself reloading a lot. Past the 25-30 meter range, the Shack is almost useless. You're peppering damage. You're just resetting health regen. You're not really doing anything. That'll wrap up the Shack. Good for all maps, good for all team comps, and overall I saw it A+. Very close to an S tier, but if you're a new player or a veteran player, get good with the Shack and you'll find yourself being carried. On to the next weapon, which is the BFR Titan. The BFR Titan is a solid weapon. I'd put this above the Shack. The problem with that is being the inconsistency in the player. Even if you're the best player in the world, you're still going to be missing shots. And it's a lot easier to just spray bullets than it is to hit precise body or even sometimes hit precise headshots after headshots. I definitely recommend everyone give this weapon a shot. This is my secondary weapon. This is going to be the main weapon you're swapping to if you are maining the Shack, or even if you're maining the SA. It's so good for range. It's the only real range option the Heavy has besides the Akimbos, but in my opinion, it's just a better Akimbo. Most people feel that way. One of the strongest maps for the BFR is going to be Kyoto. Some of the other maps you can think about swapping is on Cis Horizon, Monaco, and even Las Vegas, especially Sandstorm Las Vegas. All of these maps are very long ranged, a lot of rooftop fighting, and weirdly placed cache boxes where that range is going to come in handy that the Shack just can't take care of. As I mentioned before, make sure you're looking to swap to the BFR on the final round. Always have it in your reserves. If your team doesn't have range on that final round, you might need to be the one that steps up for it, so the BFR is a good option there. Onto the strength and weaknesses of the BFR. The BFR has a lot of high damage and has a high skill ceiling. And if you're hitting those shots, you can just win fights after fights after fights. It also pairs very well with the winch and charge and slam. For the weaknesses of the BFR, I think there's a lot of weaknesses here, but it is a very slow rate of fire and it has a slow reload. You're reloading one bullet at a time, even on an empty mag, and it has pretty bad hipfire accuracy. And as I mentioned earlier, it requires a lot of skill. As a rating for this one, I would put it just above the Shack at an S-. Heavy benefits from huge burst damage. If you are a good player, you're going to find a lot more success with this weapon than I think you are with the Shack. On to the next and probably the most prominent weapon in the pro scene is going to be the SA-12. It requires way too much experience, and if you're whiffing one or two shots out of that 4 mag, you are just going to lose even to a Heavy that has a Shack. It requires way too much team play and coordination to be moved around from your medium and your light. I think it's probably the best Heavy weapon right now. It has never left the meta. Onto the maps for the SA-12. The only map I really don't see people running this weapon is Kyoto. It's just, like I said, way too much range going on. I have even seen it on Cis Horizon. I've even seen it on Las Vegas. It's less about what map you're on and more about the map knowledge you have. If you're playing around your team correctly, this weapon is just going to dominate. You don't need to be playing range. You just play for them coming up close and you just shred. Moving on to the strength and weaknesses of the SA. For the strength, I'm just going to say it has a high amount of damage. The capability of how much ammo is in one full mag is enough to wipe multiple teams. You just got to hit those shots. The movement on this weapon is a lot easier than the other weapons because you can focus on the movement while you're shooting because you don't have to ADS. With shotguns in this game, I'm sure a lot of you know, ADS does not improve your accuracy, so you can just keep hip firing and keep the slides between when your weapon is cocked back and keep sending it. Onto the weaknesses of this gun. It requires so much skill, so much map knowledge, so much team coordination that it's just not viable for anyone unless you're at a high rank, to be honest. I would still rank this gun to be the best meta by far. If I was to put it back on that tier list, it would definitely be an S+ easy. So many teams are rolling with this gun. If you have a heavy that's good with it, and you have a medium and light that know exactly how to play around it, you just wipe squads after squads after squads. You don't have to fear anything. You fear no one. Well, if you guys made it all the way to the end of the video, I just want to say I appreciate you guys for sticking around. I reached 100 subscribers, and I know that may seem like a little, but it really means a lot to me. I'm going to keep making some content. If you guys have any recommendation for some videos or any questions, then just put it down in the comments. I read them. I respond to a lot of you guys. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.